Hey, Kingdom family, greetings, blessings, and welcome to another Kingdom Conversation with me, your host, Bishop Wayne Malcolm, the Business Bishop. Always excited and delighted to be a part of your life and legacy. Well, I want to wish you a happy new year. This is the first day of 2026, and I am praying that this will be your year of promotion, your year of protection, and your year of prosperity. So look, thank you to each and every one of you that have subscribed to the channel. And I'd like to encourage those of you who are yet to subscribe to go ahead and subscribe and click for notifications, because we are posting on a weekly basis and we're ramping it up this year. So if you don't want to miss any of the posts, go ahead and subscribe and click for notifications. I also want to thank those of you who have liked the posts, those of you who have left comments. Those comments are a personal blessing to me because they remind me that I'm in the right place at the right time, doing the right things for the right people. So thank you for your comments. And of course, to those of you who are sharing this channel with your family, friends, neighbors, and networks, I salute you. And I want to thank you for partnering with this vision and making this channel more findable by people like you who are looking for content like this. All right, this month we are diving into a very powerful series. And the overall title for the series is Where There's a Will, There Is a Way. Where there's a will, there is a way. And of course, I'm speaking about the will of God and the way of God. And so today's session, by way of kind of introducing the concept, is entitled, When God's Will is Clear, His Way Will Appear. Woo! That's worthy of a sound effect. When God's will is clear, His way will appear. Now, this will be a series focusing in on kingdom economics, and I'm going to be brutally transparent with you and tell you that this very month I'm going to be releasing a brand new book on kingdom economics, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it as we get to the end of the presentation. But of course, I'm going to encourage you to grab the book when it is released. But I'm going to give you some insights into the world of kingdom economics in this particular series. Now, I'm going to try and stay as visible as possible throughout the presentation. So here's the agenda. I'm going to give a little introduction, and that's by way of giving context to this concept. And then we're going to talk about conviction preceding commitment. We're going to talk about doubt and how doubt closes heaven over your life. I'm going to talk about the difference between God can and God will. And then we're going to try to settle what the will of God is for you. So here goes, introduction, some context for the concept. This January series is focused on resolving a critical internal conflict that many believers experience, right? So many believers are conflicted internally when we should be convicted. You know, we'll never follow through on God's plan if we are not totally convicted of His purpose. We're never going to take God's way if we're not absolutely convinced of His will. And when it comes to conviction about God's purpose and God's will for your personal economy, for your economic leadership capacity and authority, if you're not clear about that, okay, then you're going to be conflicted. And so many believers experience this internal conflict, and it goes like this. Is abundance, prosperity, and economic authority truly the will of God for me? So that's the question I want you to ask yourself. Is abundance, prosperity, and economic authority truly God's will for you? And of course, we're not merely talking about money. This is not a series on how you can make more money or anything like that. It's not a business series. It's a spiritual series in which we're going to be diving into some kingdom theology and some kingdom psychology and some kingdom economics, right? So the question here is, or what we're dealing with here, is your economic capacity, right? Because if your economic capacity doesn't match your empathetic compassion, then your compassion doesn't have capacity, and all you can do is feel bad for people who are not doing so well, but you won't have the economic capacity to do something practical and tangible about it. So we're really dealing with your economic capacity. We're dealing with your economic authority, and that has to do with your ability to make decisions, to choose. It has to do with the number of options that are available to you, which comes through your economic authority. And then, of course, we're dealing with your economic legacy. All right. And this is where the Bible says that a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. And this means that a good person has generational dreams and legacy goals and is building platforms upon which their children's children can stand tall. So when it comes to your economic legacy, the question is abundance, prosperity, and economic authority truly the will of God for me? Because if his will becomes clear, then his way will appear. I wish I had some help in here. So the common questions that believers wrestle with are, should a believer aspire to be rich? Right? Should we aspire to be rich? And why do we even wrestle with this? We wrestle with this because for many centuries, believers have been drip fed through multiple sermons, warnings about wealth, warnings about riches, warnings about money. And all of the warnings in the scriptures around riches and money sit inside a context. And if they're taken out of context, then what they create is internal conflict, particularly for those of you who have uncommon aspirations in the marketplace. You believe or you sense that God wants you to create wealth. And often we're swimming against the tide. We're swimming against the current. And it's a current of opinion and ideology that has demonized wealth creation, material success, and economic capacity. Well, it's led many believers to wrestle with these questions. Should a believer aspire to be rich? Is it possible to be both rich and righteous? Is it possible to be both prosperous and pious? Is abundance compatible with holiness? These are the questions that we want to resolve fully in this series. And the reason we have to resolve these issues is because God's way won't appear until his will is clear. You'll never follow through on God's plan if you are not convicted of his purpose. If you're conflicted when it comes to God's purpose, plan, desire, intent, will for you, you're hardly going to follow through on a plan or on a way. In fact, you're more likely to procrastinate, to hesitate, and even to resign or quit simply because of the doubt, right? The doubt concerning God's will for you. So at the center of these questions is one issue, and it is the will of God. Now, why does the will of God matter? Because you'll never be committed to God's way unless you're first convicted of God's will. Unresolved doubt about God's will closes the heavens over your life. And what this series is about, it's about resolving that doubt. So the doubt has to come out. Can I hear an amen? The doubt has to come out. And we're going to drive the doubt out in this series. Now, I know a lot of people who think, okay, well, I've already resolved this issue. I don't really have any doubts. Very often these doubts are lurking in your mind at a subconscious level, and they surface when an opportunity presents itself. So we're going to dive very deep, and we're going to operate somewhat, and we're going to drive the doubt out. So conviction precedes commitment, right? Conviction precedes commitment. Any commitment that is not based on conviction is not going to last. If you make a commitment and you are not convinced of the righteousness, the rightness, the inherent morality of what you have committed to, that commitment is not going to last. It is not going to stand. So it's important that we are convicted first, so that our commitment will last. People committed to God's way are first convinced of God's will. If you're unsure whether God wants something for you, you'll never pursue it fully, right? If you're unsure, you're uncertain if God really wants this for me, if God really planned this for me, if this is really God's intent for me, then you're never going to pursue it fully. The lack of conviction then produces hesitation, inconsistency, and spiritual paralysis. And of course, faith does not function where the will of God is unclear. If you're uncertain, unclear about the will of God, faith cannot function in that confusion, right? So the Bible teaches that God is the author of peace. He is not the author of confusion. And wherever there is confusion, there is doubt. Wherever there is confusion, there is uncertainty. Wherever there is confusion, you are unsure. Wherever there is confusion, there is no faith. So we don't want to be confused about this issue of God's will when it comes to your abundance, prosperity, and economic legacy. Like, we don't want to be confused about that. We don't want to be uncertain about it. We want to know of a surety that this is the absolute will of God for us, because only at that point will we be committed long term to his way and to his plan. Now, Hebrews 11 verse 6 says, without faith, it is impossible to please him. Now, I want you to notice this. Without faith, it is impossible. In other words, in the absence of faith, we are in a world of impossibilities. Like, where there's no faith, there are many mountains, okay? But where there is faith, those same mountains become opportunities. They become stepping stones, okay? They become setups for a step up. But where there is no faith, all you can see is mountains and obstructions and hurdles and prohibitions and limitations and non-possibilities because of the absence of faith. And without faith, it is not possible to please God. So what is it that pleases God fundamentally? Is our faith and the things that we do by faith, the things we do by faith, the things that we say that are coming out of our faith, the choices we make that are informed by our faith, these things bring pleasure to God. Now, this verse goes on to break it down. It says that whoever comes to God must believe that he is, or that he exists, and that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. Woo! So there's kind of two sides to what you have to believe when you come to God. When you step into the God realm, when you step into the spiritual world, when you come into the kingdom, there are two sides of what faith means. It means, number one, believing that God exists, believing in the reality of God's presence and God's power. And a lot of people believe in the existence of God, but that's not enough. It's not enough. Faith requires confidence not only in God's existence, but also in his intent to reward those who diligently seek him. In other words, your faith must go beyond believing that God exists, and it must stretch to believing, it must include believing that if you practice principles that he has laid out, you will reap the benefit and the rewards and the spoils of obedience to these principles. These principles will work for you, and God will reward the people who are diligently seeking him. Now, this is very, very important that this conviction exists ahead of your commitment, because if you make a commitment not based on convictions, the commitment is going to be tested, and it's not going to stand the test of time, and it's not going to last. But if you are deeply convicted of God's reality, his presence and his power, his purpose and his plan, you are deeply convicted about these things, then actually you can step forward with confidence. Confidence. And when it comes to the level of success that God has planned for you, it's going to require confidence that's going to manifest itself as courage and as commitment to a way forward or a plan. And so I want to address some of the, what is really eating away at our confidence, and it is called doubt. And I've said here that the doubt keeps you out. The doubt will keep you out of this arena of possibility, this arena of probability, this arena of potential, this arena of boundless and bountiful blessedness. This arena is closed to the doubters, but it is open to the convicted. I'm going to say it this way. It's closed to the conflicted, but it's open to the convicted. So if I'm conflicted when it comes to the will of God, the way of God is going to be closed to me. The arena in this supernatural God realm in which all things are possible, it will be closed to me if I try to bring doubt through the door, if I come into it conflicted. But if you come into it convicted, woo, everything is possible to those that believe. Doubt doesn't really question God's power. Doubt doesn't question God's ability, right? You can be a doubter singing that God is able every day. You can be a doubter telling everyone that God can do it. You can be a doubter telling yourself that God can, because doubt is not about questioning God's power. It is questioning God's willingness. Oh, help me. Somebody help me scream. You're not doubting when you question God's ability, right? You're just terribly misinformed, because God is the omni. He's omnipotent. He can do everything and anything. He's omnipresent. He's everywhere present at the same time. He's omniscient. He's omniscient, which means that he knows everything that can be known about anything that can be known, right? God is the omni, and it would be foolish to question his ability. Doubt is when you question his willingness. So what you're saying is, I know God can, I'm just not sure that he will. That is the essence of doubt. So Jesus taught that faith is the arena of possibility. He taught that the arena where all things are possible is faith. He said, all things are possible to those who believe, which means that those who do not believe are going to live in a world of impossibilities. But when you enter the world of faith, actually everything is possible. Where faith is absent, things become impossible. Where faith is absent, mountains are magnified. When faith is absent, obstacles become bigger, right? When faith is absent, all you can see is impossibilities. But when faith is present, those same mountains become stepping stones. They become setups for a step up. They become opportunities, because you're seeing them through the eyes of faith, right? You're seeing them in the arena of faith. So Matthew 19:26, Jesus says, with men, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. Now, if you put the passages together, all things are possible to them that believe. With God, all things are possible, simply means that faith puts you in the God realm. Your faith puts you in the God realm where everything is possible. So what keeps you out of the God realm? What locks you out of this realm where everything is possible? It's called doubt. And doubt isn't about questioning God's ability. Doubt is about questioning his willingness. So if you believe God can, but you're not sure that he will, that will keep you out of the realm where everything is possible. Woo! I feel like I need to say that again. If you believe God can, but you're not sure that he will, that is doubt, and it will keep you out of the realm where everything is possible. James 1, 6 and 7 dives into this, and context is that whatever you lack, if you lack wisdom, you should ask God, but you must ask in faith without wavering, because whoever wavers is like a wave of the sea, right? Driven with the wind. Here 1 minute, gone the next minute. If you watch waves, right? They're just momentary, they're just temporary. They come and they go. And whoever is asking with doubt is like the wave driven by the wind. It goes on to say, let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. Wow and wow. I need to pause right there. Like, if you come to God with doubt, according to James 1, don't even think for a moment that you will receive anything from the Lord. In other words, heaven is closed, right? Your access to the arena of greatness, the arena of possibility, the arena of miracles, it is closed because you have brought doubt into the equation. Now, it goes on to say that the double-minded person is unstable in all of his ways. What does it mean, double-minded? Okay, so I've done a lot of teaching on the double mind. I'm going to give another application of it today. With one part of your mind, you believe God can. With the other part of your mind, you're not sure that he will. Woo! That's the double mind. The double mind is the person who believes God can, but is not sure that he will. And see, there's conflict. Now internally you're conflicted. So, when it comes to kingdom economics, right, and God's plan and God's purpose, God's will for your economic legacy, your economic capacity, your economic authority, if you say God can, right, but you are not as sure that he will, you're now double-minded, unstable, right? Unstable because even if you commit to a plan, you commit to the way, you're going to be easily distracted, easily discouraged, easily derailed, because you're not coming from a place of conviction when it comes to God's will. So the key insight here is that doubt about God's will closes heaven over your life, because doubt interrupts the flow of heaven on earth. Faith, with all things are possible to those who believe, and with God all things are possible, but the doubt will keep you out of that arena. And that's why we have to deal with the doubt. Now, where's the doubt come in? The doubt is not God's ability, it's God's intent. Okay? It's not God's ability, it's God's desire. Right? We don't doubt God's ability, we don't doubt his power. We are uncertain when it comes to his will for us. That creates the double mind, that creates the internal conflict, that creates the instability and the insecurity, because we know he can, we're just not sure he will. So most believers believe God can, but struggle to believe God will. And I want to show you this in the healing of a leper, Matthew 8, verses 2 and 3. Here's what the man says. The leper says to Jesus, Lord, if you will, you can make me clean. Lord, if you will, you can make me clean. One more time. Lord, if you will, you can make me clean. What does that mean? It means I believe that you can make me clean if you want to make me clean, if it is your will. I believe you can. I'm not sure if it's your will. I believe in your ability. I'm not sure of your intent. So Jesus responds with clarity. Jesus responds and he says, I will. I wish I had some help in here. He says, I will. Okay? Why? He doesn't say I can. He says, I will. Because he's addressing the doubt that is keeping this leper out of the dimension where he can experience wholeness and cleansing from his leprosy. His doubt is concerning the will, not the ability. If you will, you can. So Jesus addresses the doubt by saying, I will. I will. Be thou clean. Woo! So God, if you will, I know you can. God says, I will. Now, manifest, materialize, realize, experience, walk in, flow in that thing because I will. And see, a person that's convicted that God can and will, well, that person is unstoppable. That person will encounter wind and storms and rain and tribulation or persecution, adversity, hostility. They're never going to stop because they are fundamentally convicted that not only is God able, but God is willing. It is also his will. So what this reveals is the leper didn't doubt God's ability. He doubted God's desire. Jesus did not correct his faith in power. He corrected his understanding of will. The missing component of faith is often not belief in God's power, but confidence in God's purpose. Knowing what God wants for you is what then completes your faith. So I don't think anyone that's part of this growing kingdom conversation has doubt when it comes to God's power, but we are conflicted when it comes to his purpose. And that's the point of this series. I want to address all of the misinformation that has been thrown into this space when it comes to kingdom economics until we flush out the doubt and we emerge in this month as people who are convicted of his purpose and committed to his plan. Before we talk about the ways of God, we must settle the will. And the will of God for you is very clear. He says, beloved, I wish above all things that you would prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. Your total prosperity. What is the will of God for your personal prosperity and your posterity, your legacy? Here it is, that you prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. It's one thing to say it. It's another thing to know that you know that you know it. So decide today to resolve the question of God's will. Refuse to live with the double-minded faith. Stop believing only that God can and begin believing that God will. Because when the will is settled, the way will appear. Now, I've written a masterpiece called Kingdom Economics. And this is really a masterpiece. And it's going to be off the press at some point this month, towards the end of the month. And if you are very interested in getting a copy of this book, then I'm going to tell you how. You can join the waiting list and get notifications of when it is released, and about the bonuses we're going to be giving away for the first group of people that lay their hands on this book. So look, it's been a pleasure serving your leadership and your legacy as the business bishop. I am looking forward to this series because we're going to dive into some really, really deep things. Please do leave a comment, like the post, and don't leave before you watch these ads, because it's going to show you how you can take advantage of the plethora of resources that we've made available to Kingdom citizens. Until the next time, this is the Business Bishop bidding you Godspeed, peace out, and shalom. What if everything you've been taught about money, prosperity, and God's intention for the earth has been too small, too narrow, and totally disconnected from the original plan? What if your struggle has never been about your potential, but about your perspective? And what if the real economy, the one God designed before the foundations of the world, has been waiting for you to discover it? Well, that's why I wrote Kingdom Economics. And before this book is released to the world, I want to give you an opportunity to get ahead of everyone else, to join the waiting list, and to be among the first to access a revelation that is going to redefine how you see wealth, work, stewardship, and purpose. Kingdom Economics is not another book about money. It's a prophetic blueprint. It's the rediscovery of God's original purpose for global prosperity, the prosperity of nations, families, and kingdom citizens. It'll show you that God has a purpose, a plan, and a process for your increase, and that everything He designed for you begins with alignment, not anxiety. From Eden to Abraham to Christ, this book reveals a pattern. God never intended scarcity. God never mandated smallness. God never glorified survival. He created you for dominion, productivity, influence, and generational impact. But here's the important part. The book is not yet released, and before we make it available publicly, I want to open the doors for those who are hungry, ready, and positioned to join the waiting list. And to reward early action, I'm giving something special. The first 50 people who join the waiting list and purchase the book on release day will receive the full audiobook version completely free. That's right, buy the physical or digital book on release day, and if you're among the first 50 buyers from the waiting list, the professionally narrated audiobook is yours at no cost. This will allow you to not only read the revelation, but also hear it, meditate on it, and carry it with you as you rise into a new economic reality. Join the waiting list today, be among the first to receive Kingdom Economics when it launches, and secure your chance to receive the audiobook absolutely free. This book will challenge you, stretch you, correct you, elevate you, and align you with God's original design for your life. Your future is calling, your assignment is calling, and creation is groaning for what you will build next. Join the waiting list now and be one of the first 50 to claim the free audiobook when Kingdom Economics is released. I want to speak to a very specific kind of person today. Someone who knows deep down that they are called to more. Someone who feels the pull of purpose, the tug of destiny, and the whisper of God saying, I gave you the power to get wealth. Now it's time to use it. Wealth is not an accident. Wealth is not a talent. Wealth is not a gift that falls out of the sky. Wealth is a revelation. And until that revelation is activated in you, you will keep working harder while watching others rise higher. That's why I created the Power to Get Wealth Challenge. This challenge is for kingdom entrepreneurs who are ready to move beyond survival, beyond struggle, beyond sweat and stress, and step into the divine pattern of supernatural prosperity. Because here's the truth. If God has a will for you to be wealthy, then God must also have a way for you to become wealthy. And His way is nothing like the world's way. In this challenge, I'm going to show you 4 revelations that every kingdom entrepreneur must master. First, how to deconflict wealth and settle the matter of God's will once and for all. Until that question is settled, nothing in your financial life will feel stable. Second, how to activate your spiritual bank account by aligning your beliefs, emotions, behavior, and identity with abundance. Third, how to turn creativity into currency, creating value equal to the income you expect. And fourth, activate the favor formula where God himself reveals you, draws the right people to you, and convicts them of your value. This is not theory, this is not hype. This is the spiritual intelligence behind every major breakthrough you've been praying for. And here's the important part. For this challenge, there are only 12 seats at the table. These are the people who will get direct access to me for live coaching, your questions, your business, your revelation, your breakthroughs. If you want me to speak into your assignment personally, this is your opportunity. Once the 12 seats are taken, they're gone. Everyone else is welcome to sit in the gallery and watch the coaching, but only seat at the table participants get the intimate, high-touch experience. And as a bonus, those who register at any level will receive a free audiobook copy of my brand new book, Kingdom Economics. If you know this challenge is for you, if you feel that leap in your spirit, if you know that 2026 demands a new version of you, spiritually, strategically, and financially, then this is your moment to act. Do not wait, do not delay. Do not watch others take the seats that belong to you. Click the link, apply for your seat at the table. Let's unlock the power to get wealth together. I'll see you inside.
Hey there, entrepreneurs. If you enjoy the teachings of Bishop Wayne Malcolm, I've got something amazing for you. Introducing the New Breed Community, an exclusive online platform for kingdom-conscious entrepreneurs, professionals, investors, and creators. This isn't just a community, it's a movement where we discuss and explore kingdom concepts. Here, kingdom-minded people connect, share, learn, and grow together. Inside, you'll find exclusive content from Bishop Wayne Malcolm, including special sessions just for members. And the best part? It's free to join. The New Breed Community sits on the Heartbeat platform, where Bishop Wayne Malcolm is excited to meet you online. Join us for weekly Q&A sessions with Bishop Wayne, and get exclusive insights that can transform your life. Love to read? Join our book club to feed your mind and spirit. Got a prayer request? Post it and let's lift each other up. Have a testimony? Share how God's goodness is shining in your life. We're more than just a community, we're a movement. Discover the powerful relationship between your profession and your purpose. Join us now on the Heartbeat platform. Connect with us and let's grow together. Bishop Wayne Malcolm and the New Breed Community are waiting for you. So what are you waiting for? Hit that join button and step into a world of connection and growth. A warm welcome awaits you. See you on the inside.